Let's talk about the fourth best team in the Premier League, which is Nottingham Forest at the time of recording. Nuno has been at the wheel for about a year at Nottingham Forest. He took over on the 20th of December 2023. I remember that fans were thinking, harsh on Steve Cooper, probably the right decision to get rid of him. And they didn't know whether Nuno was the right man to bring in. Obviously, he had a good spell at Wolves, and then at Tottenham, they got rid of him after, 7 or 8 matches. And then a brief spell away from England, and then he's come back to Forest, and he's been unbelievable. He kept them up last season, and quite frankly, with the team that he had, he should have kept them up. So he did bare minimum, especially with the teams who got relegated in Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United. Of how much money was invested by Forest with the likes of Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Gibbs-White, and then obviously this season bought in the likes of Elliot Anderson, Morata, Milinkovic. They're doing really well, and on paper they're probably a 13th, 14th place team. You look at them spots right now; they're took up by Manchester United and West Ham. So Forest is definitely punching above their weight. So are a few other teams in the Premier League right now. Villa are just below them in fifth. Bournemouth, Brighton, both pushing for the top half. Crystal Palace have turned around their form. They're pushing up the table now. They're only in 15th, but they're looking decent. But this video is on Forest. Possibly the most unpredictable team in the Premier League this season, because in their last match against Brentford, they won 2-0 and they played a 3-4-3. Their new man Morata got his first start. He played okay. Probably the worst centre back of the three. He was the most liable to, making a mistake or potentially letting a Brentford player score, but they kept a clean sheet. But you look at that midfield too that they play against Brentford. Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White, that is incredibly attacking. Both players who, in some teams, would potentially be the second most attacking player. In a 4-2-3-1, they'd be playing in the attacking midfield position. But against Brentford, they both paid as pivoting midfielders, or box to box. I'll go if you stay back, or if you go, I'll stay back. And it was quite clever in the way that they played. And that's exactly what Nuno said in his post-match press conference. Said that it's two young players. What are they, about 23, 22 years oldish, Anderson and Gibbs-White. And they play very mature. Gibbs-White, I remember when he was at Forest, in Sheffield United, in the Championship, he played like a false nine position for the most part. It was like the most attacking player. So seeing him play the most reserved midfield role for a Premier League team in fourth position is incredible. You look at the front three that they played. It was Hudson-Odoi, Chris Wood, and Anthony Elanga. Elanga got the decisive goal to make it 2-0, which possibly made Brentford players get their head down. I think this was Brentford's first loss this season at home. And this is, it's not an easy ground to go to. It's really not. And Forest have picked up the second most points away from home in the Premier League this season. The only other team to pick up more is Chelsea. Enzo Maresca's Chelsea. How well they're doing as well. They're in second place, only a couple points behind Liverpool. They're catching up. But as I say, Nuno's team is the most unpredictable in the Premier League, in my opinion. Because they played this 3-4-3, which I've just gone into a little bit against Brentford. But for the most part this season, we're playing a 4-2-3-1. Anthony Elanga said that teams never know how Forest are going to play. And to be honest, when I watch Forest game on game, I don't know how they're going to play either. Because sometimes it's a 4-2-3-1 where they'll try and pass through the opponents. It's never exactly ultra possession football, but sometimes they'll be a bit more direct in other games. But they're very efficient. That's the word which I'd use. They're efficient. If a player is free and they can pass it forward to get into a better space, then they'll do it. If there's a little bit of space for Elanga or Hudson-Odoi to run inside from the wing, then they'll do it. If Chris Wood gets a little bit of space against his defender to pick up the ball, get a shot on goal and seemingly score basically every single one this season, they'll do it. And although they're playing really efficient football, they've still got key players with key roles within it. You look at Murillo at centre-back, Murillo. Coming from Brazil, it's a very different style of football because instead of being, rigid positional play, it's a bit more free. Players will pick up a space opposed to just be structured to play centre-back. So he's a very confident player on the ball. He'll be happy to run into midfield. He'll be happy to pick up positions in midfield. He'll be happy to cover players all over the pitch. He's not defined by being a left centre-back. And there's a few players in this Forest team who have positional freedom to an extent because Nuno his footballing philosophy has always been you stick to your position, we have this structure until you don't need to. In terms of if Forest are dominating a match, then a player like Elliot Anderson in attacking midfield, when they play the 4-2-3-1, it'll be picking up positions. It'll be right wing, and then 30 seconds later, it'll be in the left back position, just picking up those pockets just to try and receive the ball and move it on. And it's all planned, if you get what I mean. It's all like Nuno isn't watching his team. He's not seeing Elliot Anderson at left back and thinking, what's he doing there? There's a reason behind it all. There's a structure to the team, and it's working so well. Now, do I think Forest are going to stay in fourth and get Champions League spots? I don't. I think, they've got a better away form than they've got home form, and it's not often that teams have that in the Premier League. I think that they will dip from their away form a little bit. Their home form is normally good at the City Ground, good fan base, solid form normally at home. So, they're definitely going to get top half, in my opinion, just by home form alone. But it's whether they can keep up this away form, which not many teams can. And it's a rigorous fixture schedule. But another part of me thinks that Forest could potentially keep it up because the unpredictability, the fact that they've got so much strength in depth. They bring on Ryan Yates and Nicholas Dominguez at CDM, and that against Brentford yesterday. And their summer signing, their record-breaking signing, maybe not record-breaking, but I think it was the biggest signing that they made this summer, Sangare at CDM. He's been injured all season, so when he comes back, they've got another midfield to go there. If one of the wingers gets injured, they've got Jota. If Chris Wood can't play, they've got Awayinyi, how you say it. Centre-backs, they've got Morato, as you saw, if Milinkovic or Murillo can't play. If not, they've got Willy Bolly, who's maybe not got the legs for it anymore, but he's still a very capable defender. Aina and Nico Williams at right back, then Harry Toffolo and Moreno at left back. They've got so much strength, and I've probably missed out a couple of players there. I think Nuno's got a lot of options up his sleeve. And as I say, he's been at Forest for a year now, and their fans, when he first came in, weren't the most convinced. I've got a few mates that are Forest fans, and they said, there's better managers out there. They don't know what his play style is. They can't see them improving much from being relegation candidates. And some of the things are true in the way that they still don't know what his style of football is. But I feel like that's a positive because he's a reactive manager. He'll play football to suit, not to suit, but to counter the opposition they're playing against. Going to a 3-4-3 away at Brentford, that wasn't because of a lack of player options that they had. That wasn't because he wanted to spice things up a bit. That's because he'd have done an in-depth tactical analysis of the Brentford team. He'd have worked out exactly the best way to go up against them and counter them and play football against them, and it worked. For the most part, from what I saw of the match, the back five were very much a five when they could be, and the front three were very much a three when they could be, in the way that those two players, Elliot Anderson and Gibbs White, would be the link players. They'd be dictating exactly what the tempo is. They'd be dictating when the fullbacks are attacking. And it's a system which Nuno's worked on for years, because I remember at Wolves, he played a 3-4-3 religiously. He had Jota on the left wing. Up front, he had Bonatini in the Championship, and then Raul Jimenez. He had the likes of Adama Traore. He had Ruben Neves. I'm not going to go into that Wolves team, but it was a 3-4-3. He knows exactly how to play a 3-4-3 successfully, so he got Wolves Europe with it. Forest in Europe could be on the cards. First time in, 30 years? I mean, it's better than, the average, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City getting it. So I'm more than happy to see a team like Forest do it, even as a Sheffield United fan. Let me know down in the comments. What do you think to Forest start? Do you think that they're going to get Europe? Let me know. Until next time, thank you very much for watching.